All right, everyone. So normally there is a countdown here, but I have been working so hard for my employer, the Vanaken Group. Let's give them a little love today, that I forgot to download the countdown. And as Justin, my guest here today, Justin Clark from Kelsan and Impact Knoxville, I'm going to let him talk in a minute. And I've been chatting here in the green room of Litvak Leadership for the last 15 minutes. I could not get the countdown to download fast enough. Yes, that reggae music is just really rich and takes forever to count down. So this is what we should consider the countdown, me just talking for a few minutes. So Justin, welcome to Litvak Leadership Live. How are you today?
Hey, Sean, nice to see you. I'm doing really good. Had a great day at work. Got to get home and see my family a little bit before this started, and ready to rock and roll with you.
I am so excited to have you on the show. So everyone, for those of you who don't know Justin, Justin is the Vice President of Sales at, here, I even got a little thing here, Vice President of Sales at Kelsan in Knoxville, and he's the Executive Director of Impact Knoxville Leadership. And if you do not follow the hashtag Justin Leadership on LinkedIn, you are missing out, because Justin is a prolific poster about leadership, his business, Impact Knoxville, fun things going on with his family that are just great life lessons. You should be following Justin. And speaking of following, if you do not like, follow, and share Litvak Leadership on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, what is wrong with you? Right now, you are watching this show on something, one of these platforms. Whichever platform you are watching this show on, you need to like this, you need to follow it, you need to ring the bell so you're notified every single time we go live. All right, enough of that. So Justin and I are talking today, and I always write my topic down because I can get scattered. Finding your power in family, business, and faith. So Justin, my first question to you, is it in that order for you? Family, business, and faith?
You know, it's interesting you ask. I think I would have answered it completely different at different stages in my life. I could certainly say a handful of years ago, it was in an order that went business, family, and then faith.
All right, yeah.
I've unfortunately learned some tough lessons, like we learn in leadership and in life, that when I got faith out of the place it should be, which is where it's leading my decisions, you know, sometimes things didn't go as well in my business, or they didn't go as well in my family.
Sure.
So I have to start out with a faith of, first off, knowing my identity and who I am, who God says that I am, and then taking that to my business and to my family. So I would say we start out with that faith level. I come home, spend time with my family, make sure I'm intentional with them. One of the big challenges, you know, when you balance a family and business, is there's many times you're going to have more hours at your business. You know, you might have 40 or 50 or 60 hour work week, and you might only have 10 or 15 hours with your family. But that doesn't mean those hours you can't be really intentional and make those moments to where they realize they're more important than work. But it takes that intentionality.
So now, you know, you're obviously, when we look at our two beards, you are definitely younger than me. Your kids are younger than mine. I can give the best explanation of it is that when I'll like sometimes post things on LinkedIn, I will ping my children because they have jobs and are on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, will you do dad a favor and, you know, like this? Whereas you're taking video at home of your kids just doing fun things. And sometimes it turns into a late LinkedIn post. So how is it in today's world with COVID and resignations and just the proliferation of social media? How do you balance family, work, and your faith to instill your children into growing up to be the adults that, you know, you would like them to be?
You know, that's a huge question, Sean. I think so. A lot of our life, or my life, is, you know, the discipline and things I've learned have came from business.
Okay.
And so if you read many business books, you're going to hear about core values. What's most important in your business? How do you hire? How do you fire? What is the big thing, the baseline of your business? So fortunately, my wife and I guess it was about 5 years ago, we actually created core family values where, we actually pay my kids $1 when they repeat them without looking at them. Still to this day,
Wow.
hey, go with the core values, and then they'll repeat through those. And what it does is it really helps us, and back to that intentionality word, is when they do really well at school, we highlight, hey, great work, great job. You worked hard. That's a core value, a family value, way to go. And then when they blame their sister or their brother for something they did, we say, hey, look, family value, it's take responsibility. In our family, we take responsibility. We don't blame others. And so in a very similar way in the business world, where you try to mold the conversation back to what's most important, we do the same thing with our family. And that helps kind of give us alignment between my wife and I in how that we're raising them and what's most important.
So you talk about, and I just want to catch that last bit, creates alignment with you and your wife. I love that. So you originally talked about how faith had a big influence on you, in how your family life and the effect that it had in your business life. Tell us a little bit about your faith and the change that occurred, for your family and for your business, before faith and after faith.
Sure. I think it really goes back to almost if you would have followed me. So we're going to get pretty deep here, Sean.
I like deep. Deep is good.
If you sit back and you go visit a therapist, if you go talk to anyone about therapy, more often than not, they're going to find some challenge or issue you had in your childhood that has became kind of who you are as a core, based on things that happened as a child. And many times we grow up our entire life believing those things. And I grew up in a way that my parents were divorced when I was young. There were a bunch of challenges. And, I really believed growing up that I wasn't quite enough. I wasn't quite good enough.
Wow.
And because of that those internal feelings, oftentimes I would make decisions to try and prove to myself, like, look, I'm the man. And it would be all about me. And decisions I would make in my business and my family would be about me. And what I was doing was really trying to fill that giant void inside myself that, hey, I'm not enough. So if I can have the right outcome, the right activity, whatever it would be, then I would think I am enough. But where faith came in and really was a game changer for me is truly believing that God's power is inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And if his power is inside of me, that overcomes any fear, any insecurity, anything that personally I might struggle with based on it as a child. But because 1 Timothy 1:7, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but has filled us with his mighty power, love, and self-control. And so because of that, faith-wise, it really helped me in business. It filled a lot of those insecurities and allowed me to think more about my team and the people I work with. And then with my wife and my family, not have to be in control and think more about them. So that I think would be the biggest change is, as I've gotten older and stronger in my faith, to recognize that I am enough. God's power is inside of me. And because of that, watch out, world, we can take you on.
Yeah, I'll tell you, a core verse for me is Matthew 6:33-34. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Like you, I have been challenged or struggled with, am I good enough to do this? And I think, I hear people talk about imposter syndrome, and I don't necessarily buy into that exact phrase, but it's, am I doing things right? And, following God's way of doing things. I know that even if it doesn't turn out the way that I think it should be turning out, I know I'm going about things the right way. So how does it affect you? Because, as a man of faith, I am sure your expression of it varies depending upon the situation you find yourself in professionally.
Sure.
How do you balance that in the workplace where, there's things that you should be engaging with and not engaging with, and sometimes you think it might be appropriate to, you know, lay on some scripture, but you're not sure how someone will respond to it.
Yeah, I was actually talking with, there's a CEO here in Knoxville of Staff Source, which is a recruiting company. His name's Sean McCall. We were at lunch yesterday, and we were talking about this exact topic. And,
Okay.
what does it mean to, bring your faith to the workplace in a way that's respectful and understanding of other folks that might not view or see life the way that you do. And so for me, where I've really landed is if you think about 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, that, if you're going to call yourself a Jesus follower or a Christian, then we have two primary goals. One, tell people of him, and two, love others. Love and care for others. So when you say you're at the workplace and you're someone that can show a little more grace than other people, you can be more patient with folks. You can treat them and love them in the way that God calls us to. That's one of the first steps, is just truly meeting someone where they're at. I'm not really in a position where I want to go up to someone and just chastise them for believing differently or seeing something differently. However, when someone says, "Man, how are you always so positive? You always have so much energy," it opens a little bit of a door to kind of speak about why that's that way. And then another piece that's been huge at business is there is a leadership conference each year out of Chicago called Global Leadership Summit.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they simulcast across the country in thousands of locations. And so it is a faith-based leadership event that's 2 days. However, they have huge names like Simon Sinek was there, a lot of folks that are not faith-based.
Okay.
And so I took 18 managers from my company last year to that event.
Wow.
And so it is a faith-based event, but with unbelievable leadership teachings throughout it. So even the handful of folks in my company that, will actively share they don't believe in the faith, we can be respectful of them and they're respectful of us. And we're able to connect on, what it's like to love our employees and to serve our employees, which is unbelievably biblical. So in those matters, we align and you start those conversations.
That is just amazing. Ed, let me ask you, when did you I just hate this phrase. There's got to be a better way for me to say this. Invite Jesus into your life as Lord and Savior, or accept Jesus, or whatever phrase you want to use. And were you one of those people that saw an immediate change? Because I'll tell you, I wasn't.
Well, I think a lot depends on your definition of believe or follow.
Okay.
So believe, I went to church my entire life. I probably accepted Jesus in my heart 3 times between elementary and high school based on whatever girl I was trying to date. So I was going to some youth group or some piece of, and I had a faith underlying, but it certainly wasn't a following.
Okay.
And really a lot of the biggest changes has happened recently. I'd say within the last 18 months of my life has been one of my challenges with the church has been, if you've gone to the majority of churches, the men are passive.
Come on now. Let's hear it.
More often than not, they're taken to church by their wife. They don't lead their family there. They're not fighting for the kingdom. They're not passionate. They don't have goals. They're not out driving for more money, because money, we're just a conduit. God wants us to have the money. It flows to us and through us. And so when I was in the church, I had a hard time relating to men that were in church. However, I related big time to jerk CEOs that had 3 houses and 2 wives because of their drive and passion and their energy. And so I had this torn part inside me. I had, look, I've been raised in the church, so I know of the Bible. I know of Jesus. I know he's chasing after me, but I couldn't relate to any of the men. Until about 2 years ago, I was introduced to a group out of Los Angeles called Warrior 1-3. And
what is it called now?
Warrior 1-3.
Okay, I'm writing that
down.
It
is men that are warriors and have an ethos of who we are as men. We're hungry. We're fire starters. We're humble. We're committed. We do what we say we're going to do. And what that has really helped me see is that there's a lot of men out there that are missing in the church that have that drive and that power. So we just left a weekend where we had 40 guys in a house. We had 3 NFL players that were there, 2 Major League Baseball players that were there, a couple guys worth $500 million apiece, like high-end folks, like super driven, but yet they're chasing after God and they're vulnerable with who they were and who they are. And so that's what's really helped me start to follow Jesus, is being actually see it emulated by men that I could relate to, by men that had that passion and excitement and energy.
So, how do you then, relate with, there are some very, very, in the business world, in the secular world, I'm dancing around how to say this. There are some very strong-willed people, even strong-willed women, or even strong-willed people that are pursuing different lifestyles that are not biblically endorsed or appropriate, and they really come down on men. How do you interact with those people to show them love, but at the same time not back down?
So I guess this is one of my hardest challenges, because if my LinkedIn says one thing that I pride myself on is executing a strategy. I'm not particularly great at coming up with a strategy. Many times I don't have the best vision. But if there's a vision and a strategy, I can put a plan together to do A, B, C, and get a result of D most times. And so I love that side of it. But when it comes to our faith, this has been so hard for me. I can't do A, B, and then expect C to happen when you're talking about the spiritual world.
Right.
And so it's not on me. I've had to accept that it's not about what I do, what I say, who I invite. It has nothing to do with me. I'm only called to love people and share about my testimony. So if I do those things and someone doesn't receive it very well, they don't like it very well, they don't change their perspective, they don't change their mindset, it's okay. And that's been really hard for me, because previously, I really felt like, if I went out and did the work, that God would follow through the way I wanted to, or whatever it would be. So if I would be approached by a male or a female that had a different perspective and they felt really strongly about it, I'd probably just ask them questions about it. I'd be curious. Like, tell me why you believe that. Cool. Let's talk about it. Because people don't want to know. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
Until you truly show you care about them. And more often than not, people that are living a lifestyle that is non-biblical, they've been burned by Christians in the past that judge them.
Yeah.
They already have a wall up based on previous experiences with people in their life, because people hurt people and they've been hurt. So before I'm going to have any influence, I got to be able to connect to them wherever they're at. And so I'm communicating this to you better than I do it.
Don't we all?
So I can recognize, what the plan or goal would be. However, in the moment, there are times, because, we have to choose to not be offended. That's one of the biggest pieces, not just with Christianity, but with America, is we are so unbelievably offended by someone who sees, thinks, believes differently than we do. And if we can choose
social media for that, what do you think?
I think so. Here we are on social media, blaming social media. There's some irony here, right?
There is irony, but before social media, you could have good friends that you disagreed with, but you enjoyed being around them.
Sure.
Right? And now people I've posted things in social media in the past, especially in the early days of COVID, where I just had people pile on me, and it's like, whoa, people, can't I have an opinion anymore?
It's funny. So I've given up social media I don't do Instagram. I don't do Facebook. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn because of the connections and the people that I've met. But it's, can't you have an opinion? Yeah. But if you post about it, you better be ready for people to give you their opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you can't handle people being upset or disagreeing or verbally abusive, stay off social media.
It's unbelievable sometimes. So tell us about from your LinkedIn. We want our customers and employees to love to work with us. I mean, that, how do you show the love? How do you get someone to be a raving fan of Kelsen?
Well, let me take you back to 2016. So
Okay.
2016, our CEO calls the executive team in a boardroom, and he says, what is our purpose? What's our purpose as an organization? I imagine most companies go through some period of this. So we write, serve customers, make money, whatever we could write all over the board. So after an 8-hour meeting, we left not feeling very good about any of our answers. So we did like every company, we hired a consultant. So this consultant came in and interviewed and did all these things. And then come to find out, what we decided our purpose is all based on love. Because what we do at Kelsen, we sell the best products, we deliver the best times at the best prices. However, so do the majority of our competitors.
Okay.
Our products and logistics and the way we do things is not significantly different. If you wanted me to put my sales hat on, I could spin it and make you feel like we're a little bit different and better. Yeah. But the truth is the products and things we offer are very similar to our competitors. However, when we say that we want you to love working with us, we acknowledge it's not if we're going to make a mistake or an issue, it's when. We are going to, because we are a company that's driven by people and systems. And systems break and people break. But what we will always do is have the customer's best interest at heart. We actually have our sales team. They track what we call VBD, value beyond distribution.
Okay.
We have to log with customers things that they did that were value beyond just being a distributor. So it might be, hey, they walked through and they recommended a piece of equipment that allowed them to reduce or repurpose a headcount. Or we went to them and said, hey, there's going to be a price increase on this item. However, did you know you could switch to this and actually reduce your cost? So it's providing them value that's beyond moving a product.
Sure.
And then we do quarterly business reviews.
Absolutely.
We'll legitimately sit across from our customers and say, we love you. Because love is an action verb. Love is not just a feeling. You can choose to love someone and choose to love a customer even when they don't deserve it. So often in this country, we're like all about feelings. I live my truth. It's my feeling. Well, feelings are distracting and they're fleeting.
Feelings lie. They lie.
Constantly. And so we don't just feel like we love our customer. It's an action verb. We're going to love them. And that means different things. Sometimes it means taking them to play golf. Sometimes it means taking their team out for pizzas. And it's just little things that allow them to recognize they're more than just a SKU or a customer number.
Okay. So that is, and how do you find that people respond to that? Because you're really talking about building relationship. And back in the days when my beard was the color of your beard, relationship was all important. But now so often procurement has come in and ends up, it's all about price. How do you build relationship with people when procurement is involved?
It's tough to answer, but I think it really goes back to your ICP, your ideal customer profile. So what I mean is there's customers we would love to do business with. They're whales. We love it. They'd be huge volume, whatever it would be. However, their decision-making is purely driven by procurement.
Right.
They want the lowest cost, the lowest service. And there's companies out there that can do that better than we can. They don't have as many resources. They don't have as many trucks. They don't have as good a delivery. You don't have as much inventory, but they can do it at a lower price. So we have to recognize that there's times where if someone is just wanting the lowest price, we're not a good fit. However, if they're willing to look at the lowest cost, the cost of actually doing business, running business, keeping their facility clean and with products just in time, now we can talk to you, because there's a lot of areas we can really help. So we train our sales team that we just say respectfully, hey, we'd love to work with you, but it doesn't sound like we're the best fit. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, especially after you've prospected and you've got them on the end and you have to kind of walk away.
Oh, I tell almost every single prospect that I talk to in one form or fashion, look, we are not your low cost provider. And I will say to them, if this is about price, then I should excuse myself now and not even come visit you. Or I'll be in front of them after I've driven 5 hours and said, no, I want to remind you, if this is about price, I don't want to waste your time, because we won't be low. We will give you the greatest value. We will be a great partner. But if this is about price, we're not the people to talk to. And people, demur that, oh, no, it's not about price. And then sometimes you find out it actually is.
Well, real quick before you switch topics.
Huh?
We live in a what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm. So you have a great customer and something goes to bid, and they forgot about everything you did in the last 12 months for them.
Well, that's why you need QBRs.
Exactly. Quarterly business reviews, you're sharing all those pieces that you did and reinforcing, hey, is this what you want us to do? Right. Almost like celebrating you for doing your job, but just reminding them that there's value that's been added. So we're on the same page there, Sean.
Absolutely. When I try to describe a QBR to people, there's long explanations, but in its greatest distilled down, you're talking about what was, what is, and what is yet to come. What have we done? What are we doing? And what are we going to do? And at the same time, where have you put up blockades, Mr. Customer? Where do we need you to remove blockades? And who is that, big important person that's coming to visit you that you forgot to tell me about, so we can make sure this place looks beautiful? Sure. Let's pivot a second. I want to talk about Impact Knoxville, because you're the executive director there. And the more I look at the website and at what you guys are doing, the more I think I need to visit you guys in March. So let's talk a little bit about this.
Sure. So Impact Knoxville is a nonprofit leadership event for Knoxville, which by Knoxville giving back to Knoxville. So if you follow me, what we do is we search out for big time speakers that either live in East Tennessee or are from East Tennessee, that they have books, they've done all types of things. They do it for a living. And we ask them to come give 22-minute TED Talks. Okay. And then we charge tickets, and all of the money raised is donated to a local nonprofit.
Very cool.
And so the idea is just bringing leadership talent that's from our area and being able to highlight not just the folks that are here, because where are you from, Sean?
Louisville.
So you're in Louisville, and I'd imagine there's unbelievable talent there that people aren't aware of. And they certainly don't know that it's just right in their backyard. And so we get to highlight that and then also give back to nonprofits that we really enjoy.
Got it. So this is a training for individuals. And it's all local speakers, or do you bring in national speakers?
It's all local speakers that come in. We've done 2 events. One was a half-a-day event, a 4-hour event. Another event was 8 hours and online, to where we have speakers that are set throughout the day. The last event, we had 2 different panels. We had women in business panel. Then we also had another panel that escapes me right now. But really what it is just folks that love leadership. They really enjoy TED Talks, that want to get reinvigorated before they go back to the work week. And like knowing that their donation, 100% of the profits last year went to Street Hope, which is a fight against sex trafficking. Wow. Oddly enough, in East Tennessee, there is the Highway 40 corridor that comes right through Knoxville, and 40 and 75. And it is one of the highest trafficked for sex trafficking in the entire country.
I had no idea.
And so most folks here didn't, and we're able to support that ministry with Impact Knoxville.
And how did you get involved with Impact Knoxville?
So it's interesting. So the founder of it is actually my best friend. If you don't follow him on LinkedIn, you should. His name's Jonathan Darling. And the reason that he started it was because he's been turned down by TED Talks 14 times.
That's great.
And so he wanted to create his own. And so he found other local leaders that thought it was interesting to be able to do a leadership event. And it was really just born out of almost necessity, where Jonathan found a few folks that were interested in speaking. As I mentioned, my gift is taking someone's really good idea and simplifying it down to be able to execute on that. And so I was able to help Jonathan take his idea, and then from there, turn it into an event.
That's great. So he started this up, and was it always about giving back to the community, or was it about initially at first about raising up leaders? What was the full genesis?
The full genesis was passion for leadership and leadership development and being able to share resources. So when Impact Knoxville first started, it was 2019, and it was pre-COVID. So we weren't quite as used to all of this virtual meetings. And so there weren't near as many virtual meetings or ways to get information about leadership. And so he has a passion for it himself. And he had a frustration with not being chosen to do other events.
Sure.
So he did like any entrepreneur would and said, all right, you're not going to pick me. I'm going to throw something better than you. And I was able to come alongside of him and just organize our board meetings and ensure that things get done on time and make sure that the product is worth coming to.
And does he have vision of expanding beyond Knoxville?
Yeah, so it actually got rebranded to Impact Leadership because the thought is it could almost become almost like a franchise, not necessarily with franchise fees, but to be able to take a leadership conference bundled up and say, hey, Louisville, do you want to run an Impact Louisville? Here's what you need. You need this many speakers. You need this size of an event. Here's how much your tickets need to be. Here's how you run lighting. And it would just be something you could buy into. And then he'd have Impact Leadership that would allow to be in other markets.
We're going to have a conversation at some point. This sounds like this could be a great outreach, help the community. And frankly, I don't think that there are a lot of leadership focused events going on anymore. I mean, yes, and I'm not taking anything away from Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Evan Carmichael, but those are more national events as opposed to homegrown events.
And there's just so much talent in our cities. And if there's anything social media showed us that's good, I know we bashed it a little bit, but the really interesting piece is now that everyone has a voice, some of these voices we never would have heard of are turning out to be profound. Like there's folks I've connected with on LinkedIn that I never would have connected with, but based on their choice to share content and information, I've built friendships, relationships. They've helped change my business. So there's a lot of talent in our markets. And all we're really doing is highlighting that talent and giving that talent to an area, and then the proceeds going to nonprofits. So there's a lot of good, warm heart feelings as well.
Well, and it's interesting when you talk about that. You are my 158th interview since I started Litvak Leadership. When I first began, I was doing this Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. every day because you can only cold call so much during a pandemic. And I had fallen in to a mastermind group that was an outgrowth of a Jeffrey Gitomer training. I'm sure you're familiar with Jeffrey Gitomer. And looking at the people that I've had the opportunity to interview and talk with and just meet from around the world, it's just shocking when I hear people talk about how COVID has just ruined their lives. I kind of look at them and think, it's like anything else. You've got to, leverage it into something good for yourself.
Sure. Yeah, it's perspective. There's typically two sides to a coin when something terrible happens, and it's easy for me to say that as I haven't gone through it. So I want to be empathetic to folks that have had those terrible things happen. More often than not, that flip side is there's some upside or some perspective you might not have seen. So I think surrounding yourselves with good folks like your mastermind group or whoever you have in your life to help us see that upside or the opposite side of the coin is huge, especially when you're going through the challenge. Because sometimes when you're so close to it, it really is difficult to see the forest through the trees, as the saying goes.
Oh, I was truly blessed that I had started a new job 6 weeks before COVID hit. 6 weeks, 8 weeks before COVID hit, and I am still working with the Vanaken group because they looked beyond COVID, looked beyond that first year when it was a struggle for everyone. Also on your LinkedIn. Core values of love, being accountable, being positive, desire to be better, teamwork, family first, help to guide every decision we make. Which one of those core values do you think has had the greatest impact on your life?
I'm going to answer two ways. First off, the biggest impact on my life is the teamwork and family first. So I've worked with Kelsan now for 14 years, which at my age, I'm an old millennial, which means that the majority of the people I work with are changing jobs every couple of years for a number of different reasons. Not to say there's anything bad about that, but the fact that I've been with a company that long is not as normal these days.
Right.
But that teamwork and family first is really the biggest reason I've been there. Is because, of course, we want results and we want to grow double the industry and we want to have all these KPIs that we hit. But we and our ownership and executive team truly care about people's families so that when there is a moment that somebody's kid is sick, they don't have to worry about missing the presentation. They don't have to worry about what's going to happen to them if we don't get this deal. Because we're looking at things more holistically at the life of that employee. And so we train our managers to just tell them, don't worry about it. Don't call, don't do anything. Just go be with your kid, be with your family. And so it has given me the opportunity and really directed me to spend time with my family. I'm a pretty high achiever. Having results is really important to me. And so there's many times I might have missed spending time with my family to where I can remember going on vacations in my early years. And our CEO would send me notes that would say, please stop working. You're going to be in trouble if you're working. Spend time with your family, love your family. And so that is really, it's concrete in my mind. And then it allows us to do that with our team and with our employees. So that's had the biggest impact. I think the core value that I live the most probably is desire to be better, almost to a fault. It's I think that's overcoming that not being enough thing that you and I talked about, Sean. But I absolutely love to read self-help books, listen to podcasts, talk to different people, hear different perspectives, and have a chance to continue to grow. It's I'm not sure how many folks in our industry, Sean, that follow your show here, but many times in our janitorial supply and cleaning industry, high-end folks spend time talking to other people in our industry, comparing themselves to our industry, where if you can get outside of our industry and really connect to folks in other ways, it's really interesting what you can learn when you've got that real desire to be better, more so than just about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, in my mastermind group, I am the only one within our industry. And when I talk to people within our industry, see, Tim Lord is part of our mastermind group, Megamind. And Tim's got his hands in a bunch of things. But it's amazing the number of people within our industry that don't know who like Gary Vaynerchuk is. No idea. And I don't see how anyone that is marketing any kind of service or product can not know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. So, okay, couple final questions. First one, outside of the Bible, because I think truly the Bible is one of the best self-improvement and business books out there. If you will actually think about what you're reading, what book has had the greatest impact on you in any time frame, whether it's the last year, lifetime, whatever? when someone says, give me a book to read, Justin, what book do you tell them?
The Go-Giver by Bob Berg.
I've heard of that, but I have not read it.
So it is a fable that parallels the idea of the go-getter. So the go-getter, the guy that's going to work harder than anyone, step on whoever, go wherever it takes to move up the corporate ladder. And the go-giver is a parallel about the opposite of that. And it's taking your gifts and strengths, things that you're really good at, and giving them with no expectation. And then before you know it, you end up being able to give it to even larger groups with no expectation. And then that's where your financial benefit ends up coming. You get to a point where you're now sharing your gifts with more and more people with no expectation. And then you turn around and you have a high level position that pays you really, really well. That's a result of giving as opposed to worrying about what you get. So that book's had a huge impact on my personal life. Then the other piece would be, from a strategy standpoint, EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It is an unbelievable way to lead your business. That from as far as to quarterly rocks, to weekly to-do lists, to L10s, to vision traction organizer, it is an awesome simplified structure that we're fortunate I'm able to run 4 of our businesses using that process. And so that EOS, he has a handful of books, is really, really good also.
You are probably the 10th person that I have heard speak of or text about or post about EOS. I'm sure that there is a book or a website that describes it that I certainly need to dig into. All right, So we've gone 41 minutes, which is probably about the length of a typical show on TV that goes an hour, but they have commercials and we don't. I'm going to hand it over to you to make a final impact into the Litvak Leadership viewership, whether people are viewing now or they're watching this on replay across LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Can't stream on Instagram or TikTok, but those first 4, this will live in perpetuity. Tell us, how do you suggest people should find their power in our topic in family, business, and faith?
Well, first off, you have to accept you are not your past decisions. You are not the decisions that you made that you look back on that you're not proud of. You wish you would have done differently. What you did in the past does not define your future. And so I believe wholeheartedly God has put power inside of all of us in different ways. And that does not change based on how you view yourself or what has happened to you. The potential we all have is completely based on truly believing that there's power in us, knowing where our identity is, and then just accepting that we're going to make it. The Strangest Secret. It was a podcast back in 1950 by Earl Nightingale. 1952, I think it was, before podcasting. We are what we think about is the basics. And so if and when you truly believe and you think about that there's power inside of you and what you're going towards, you can make it with. There's just so much psychology, whether you go to the biblical faith or not. Strip the Bible out of it. And our belief system is so unbelievably huge in the success we have in our business, and our family. Now you throw on the Bible and it's spoken word with that idea, and you'll end up having more power than you've ever expected.
Tremendous. Tremendous. Justin, thank you so much for being my guest today on Litvak Leadership Live. You've really brought just some tremendous thoughts for people to consider, for people to embrace, and whether it is an individual that feels as though they're making traction, an individual that wants more traction, or someone that's just starting out, I would encourage them to not only listen to this again, but also connect with you on LinkedIn. This is Justin's LinkedIn profile. There's a few Justin Clarks out there, so I encourage everyone to connect with Justin and also follow. Yep, there it is, Justin's Lit Leadership. and him rapping with his daughter last night. This has been Litvak Leadership Live. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll be back next week with another interview. Bye now.
See y'all.